On August 24th, I traveled with my friends from the Netherlands to Cologne in Germany to attend at Gamescom 2023. And as soon as I got through the ticket gates, I immediately went to the Sega booth to be one of the first attendees to try out the demo of Sonic Superstars. After getting my hands on it, I've written out my casual first impressions of it on my Twitter account and uploaded some gameplay footage on my YouTube channel, which were viewed by pretty lot of people. Thus, I was tempted to work on a video in which I would go over my hands-on experience of the game, and well, here we are. I do want to note that these first impressions come from a somewhat casual perspective, even though I have some experience with the Sonic games and know a little bit of their techniques. If you want a more in-depth take on the game from a fan developer's perspective, I highly recommend watching the VOD of SNick, in which he interviews my friend ScarlyNight about his insights regarding level design, physics and more. Both are, by the way, the game developers of the fan project Sonic Legends. Links to the VOD and their game are in the description below. And with that said, let's get into it! First, the demo at Gamescom was the same build as the one from Summer Games Fest. The gameplay I played on and recorded was on a PlayStation 5, but there was also a Switch version at the booth of Nintendo, and fortunately that version also runs at 60 FPS from what I have seen at Nintendo's. I played on both available levels that were in the demo, Bridge Island Zone as Knuckles and Speed Jungle as Amy. Like most people, I was kinda worried on how the physics will work in this game, like if it is gonna be identical to the classic games and Mania, or the ones like Sonic 4 and Sonic Forces. But luckily, my worries got blown away, as the physics were identical to the classic games and Mania. The controls were pretty smooth as well, and the game actually has good momentum like we all know and love. The ability to multi-tap the spin dash is also present, which is very nice. I think it's about like 2 taps instead of 3 times, so... But still, it's nice to have it. You can even perform in the game a loop jump technique, in which you jump at the right timing and angle in the loop for extra speed later on. Although I received some comments on my gameplay video where people were kind of worried about the parts in which I got pushed back by the loop, so as you can see right here, and that the Sonic team needs to fix it as soon as possible. But that actually is not a bug. What basically happened is that I timed my jump at the wrong angle and thus got pushed back for it. This also happens when you fail the loop jump in the classic games and Mania, but it felt like that you needed to be more precise with your jump and angle in Superstars, which made it a lot more trickier. Nonetheless, it's really cool that you still can perform this technique in the game, and speedrunners will really like this one. The levels provided many paths you could take, especially with the addition of being able to traverse from the background. To get from the foreground to the background and vice versa, you could, for example, take a path with dash pads like in Bridge Island, or step on a bounce platform like in Speed Jungle. At these moments I felt like I was playing Donkey Kong Country games from Retro Studios, which I am really fond of, as Donkey Kong is one of my favorite franchises next to Sonic the Hedgehog. It gave the game more depth, and that's actually what I really like, more paths and more opportunities to get through the level as such. When it comes to the looks of the game, I like it. I like how vibrant and colorful the characters, enemies and levels are. Like for example, Bridge Island Act 1 looks bright and clear with some rainbows here and there. But when you get into Act 2, the level's background changed into a sunset atmosphere, which gave me somewhat Sunset Hill vibes from Sonic Advance 3. I also really liked on how the characters' animations play out, especially Amy's. As for the level design from a casual perspective, it's alright. Bridge Island is your typical beginner stage with quarter boost pipes and waterfalls you may run into. There's a little bit of automation with those quarter boost pipes in that stage, but you still can avoid those and get through the stage pretty fine. As for Speed Jungles, I really like the level design. You can get to go through pretty fast by using the grindable vines and the speed tubes like the ones from Stardust Speedway, but the levels still required you to do some precise platforming at times, with for example the pull-up vines and the darkened cave section in Act 2. For me, it felt like it had a good balance between speed and platforming, which I appreciate. At some spots of the level, a portal may appear in which you can collect rings, stop time for a bit and get teleported somewhere further into the level. I'm really not sure if these portals just pop out randomly on a level or just pop out whenever you have a sufficient number of rings with you, but it's a nice shortcut overall. The bosses in the demo were kinda okay if I'm being honest here. The one that stood out for me the most was the secondary boss of Speed Jungle, in which you have to let them shoot a grappling hook towards themselves to get a hit. What's noticeable for every boss is that they have longer invincibility frames compared to the classic games. I think it's set up like this to prevent easy boss sweeps if you use the avatar power during the fight, for example, but you can still take on the bosses pretty fast if you use Amy, for example, with a double jump. You can also skip the boss cutscenes in which you have to hold the jump button for it. This also applies for the character cutscenes at the beginning. The special stages from Sonic 1 have returned as bonus stages in Superstars, in which you can collect rings and up to 3 medals until you fall out of it. Each layer has their own medal and you will get to the next one after you've collected it, or you will finish the bonus stage after you've collected the third one. Sonic 4 has these special stages as well, in which you, instead of Sonic, control the maze, which was pretty finicky to control, but luckily in Superstars, you control the character, just like in Sonic 1, which is a huge relief. According to a preview article of Game Informer, you can use medals to buy unlockable parts for head, body and arms, for example. It's probably meant for the online battle mode where you can customize your own medal character to play as with. You can also collect medals whenever you hit 100 rings, or whenever you find them at several spots of a level. Another collectible in the game is the fruit. You can collect them at well-hidden spots of a level, or at the capsule, which now have a roulette mechanic this time. If you land at the fruit spot, you will collect it and a big version of one of the animal friends will pop out of the capsule. I wasn't sure what its true purpose was, but according to Twitter user unnamed LionOC, the fruit is a currency to access character exclusive X, where we get several story bits of the game. Giant gold rings return, which will bring you to the special stage. Here, you need to swing from sphere to grab and collect one of the 7 Chaos Emeralds before the time runs out. There are also other elements in which you can latch onto, like a speed boost or bouncer, which give you 10 rings, and a yellow sphere, which gives you 3 rings. Whenever you obtain a Chaos Emerald, all the giant gold rings in the current level will transform into a giant blue ring in both X, and this time you can collect 5 medals in the special stage. Each of the Chaos Emeralds has their own unique power. Cyan Emerald has the water power, which lets you jump into waterfalls and get into higher heights of the level, and the Blue Emerald has the Avatar power, which lets you summon a bunch of clones of your chosen character and defeat any enemy upon contact. Although you can still lose rings whenever one of your clones gets hit by, for example, an energy ball from a crab meat, so be careful about that. You will also get to test out the power in a tutorial room first before you get sent straight back to the level where you are. With the right analog stick, you can choose which emerald power you want to use and press the square button on PS5 or X button on Switch to activate it. You can also deactivate it by pressing both shoulder buttons on the controller, but somehow that didn't work for me on the PlayStation 5 controller, so hopefully they can fix that in the final release. Even if you collected an emerald, you don't necessarily need to use their powers in order to get through the level. For the majority during my playthrough, I didn't really use any of those and still got through it fine. So usage of those powers is optional so far. Maybe they will change it in the final game, but we have to wait for that. Each of the characters have their own cutscene at the beginning, although Sonic's and Tails are nearly identical with each other. I only have footage of Knuckles' cutscene in which he takes a nap next to the Master Emerald and wakes up when the ME starts to blink. He then sees Sonic and Tails pass by with a tornado and decides to follow them. I think the ME was trying to warn Knuckles that there was new danger up ahead, and that's why he ultimately decided to help Sonic and Tails with their adventure. What's really interesting about this cutscene is that this doesn't take place in the hidden palace zone like the classic games or Mania, but at the altar from Sonic Adventure 1, which is something I really didn't expect it to be shown in a 2D Sonic game, but it's a cool change overall. Knuckles' playstyle is what you would expect. A bit lower jump compared to the others, the ability to glide in the air, get through rock barriers with ease, and climbing walls. I haven't really got the opportunity to wall climb for most of the time at Bridge Island due to that the level was primarily open in terms of level design. But still, Knuckles played very well overall. Amy on the other hand felt really great to play with and is in my opinion the best character in the game so far. She's nothing like her iteration in Sonic Origins Plus, as a double jump retains your momentum this time around, making you able to skip a large section of a level if you gained enough speed. Hammer Rush also doesn't set you at a static speed like in Origins Plus, which is a nice change. I'm still wondering if Hammer Rush's run speed would get faster if she, for example, runs from a slope downwards, as I haven't really tried that out during my playthrough. But nonetheless, it's great to see Amy finally getting the shine she deserves, and I think many people would love her to play as in the final game. Now for the music. I do want to note that at the time I was trying out the demo, I couldn't get a great hear about the music for most of the part, due to that the Sega booth was really loud and that some music within the game were set at a low volume from what I have experienced. Thus, I cannot really tell if the current songs in the game are really in that Sonic 4-esque vibes or actually better or updated. So, my apologies for that. But I also want to remind again that this build of the demo is the same as Summer Game Fest, as both acts of Bridge Island use the same music, instead of Act 2 having the music that was used in the recent multiplayer trailer of the game. So I think it's better to wait for the game's final release, as there is still some time for the music being improved later on. As from what I could get a good hear, the unnamed music of the Sonic Lego browser game is being used as the level select in the demo. And when it comes to the music of Speed Jungle in both acts, I loved it. Both slapped hard and are still stuck in my head to this day. I really cannot wait to hear them again in a clean rip as soon as the final release gets out. Alright, I think I pretty much covered everything the demo had to offer for me. And you might be wondering, did I enjoy the game or not? Well, I can say with confidence that I really like the game so far. While I do hope that the upcoming bosses are more enjoyable and challenging to fight against with, the game plays really smooth, the physics and momentum are identical to the classic games, it looks bright and colorful, and Amy is a blast to play as. I really look forward to its final release and get my hands on as soon as possible. It plays like a Sonic game. And with that said, we've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching this video and listening to my first impressions on the game. If you have any questions that you would like to ask, feel free to put it in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. And if you still want to hear more in-depth take on the demo, you can watch the VOD of SNick and ScarlyNight with the link in the description below. Again, thanks for watching and further on, have a great day. Laters!